I mention just two other things as I close. I have a profound confidence that in the proper time, for time is so vital in all these great movements among men and women, that there may be well done by the people of Canada as a nation what was done by the people of Alberta in 1935. Never let anybody tell you that this is impossible on a national scale. It's just the same thing in a bigger arena. And just as in the short space of 2 years, social credit came from obscurity and a non-political educational movement to the place where it was the government of a province, it's not impossible in the right time, with the people of this country in the right mood, to see this thing sweep Canada as it swept Alberta. Just keep that in mind. You can't hasten these things. There isn't in the world anything more powerful than a constructive idea when its time has come. Before its time comes, it flounders in the shallows and it doesn't get very far. The time came in Alberta. I think the time will come in Canada. The other thing I mentioned too in closing is more personal, but I would like to say this as part of my tribute to Mr. Aberhart, of whom I'm sure we're thinking more tonight than any other person connected with this whole movement. I had the privilege of perhaps knowing him as well or better than any other person outside the members of his own family. I had the great privilege of living in his home with he and Mrs. Aberhart. That is something that I will cherish as long as I live. And if I have been able to contribute anything to the ongoing of this cause in the years that have passed since he was called away, I owe it primarily to the things I learned from him in those early days of that association. And so my thoughts go back tonight before the time that you're talking about here this evening. In 1924, when I was a lad of about 16 years on a farm in Saskatchewan that didn't even know where Alberta was except on the map in a geography class, certainly with no thought of ever coming here, tinkering around one Sunday afternoon with an old mail-order house radio with one of these gooseneck loudspeakers of those days, out of which the whoops and whistles came, and if you stuck your head into it far enough, you could hear the program. I heard the voice of this man of whom we're speaking coming from Calgary. He wasn't talking about social credit. He was talking not about man's relationship to his fellow man at that time, but about man's eternal relationship to his Creator. And I learned as I listened the realism of a man's personal relationship with his God. That is what brought me to Alberta, to Calgary, to the Bible Institute, to the association that has led to all of these other things. That has been my stay and strength down the years. For I well recall in those days, after that personal experience in my own life through listening to Mr. Aberhart, I went to work that summer for a neighbor on a farm, and I used to drive the tractor from 5:30 in the morning till 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, come in the evening to the little bunkhouse where I slept, which was lit by an old coal oil lamp on a bracket on the wall. And after the day was done, I'd take the lamp out of the bracket and set it on the old table and get out the Bible of which I'd heard this man from Calgary speak, and read often into the early hours of the morning the things that count for eternity as well as time. And I read there of our Creator, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy path. Tonight I'm able to tell you I have found that true in life. And in all the stress and strain and turmoil of political life, it becomes more hectic as the years go by and the days go by. It's a wonderful thing in the times of stress and strain, the end of the day, to sit down and say, well, we've had a lot of things to fight about, and there's been a lot of problems, and we've got a lot of obstacles. But it's a great thing to know that all over Alberta there's hundreds of thousands of people who are working with us, who share the same convictions, who are willing to fight for this cause at any time the need arises. And then as you get a little more sober as the day fades, you remember that many of them at night remember you in their prayers. And you lie down to sleep and say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a great movement. In the greatest country in the world, in the greatest province of that country, a heritage to be proud of, a record of achievement unequaled by any other people in this country anywhere. And in the confidence of what we've learned from those experiences of the past, in the light of the solidarity or in the strength of the solidarity of the people of Alberta, with the continued memory of the goal and the leadership and inspiration that our beloved founder gave to our movement and to those of us who knew him, surely we can go into the future with confidence and even with enthusiasm, knowing that there isn't anything impossible, as you heard earlier tonight, if you have the determination to keep on fighting until death or victory. Thank you for all the kind things you've said about Mrs. Manning and me tonight. Thank you for your loyalty in what we're trying to do in carrying on what Mr. Aberhart began. Thank you for all the memories that have been in the minds of all of us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier Manning, for those words of reminiscences and words of inspiration for the future of our cause. I'm sure we'll remember them for a long time to come.